Jesse Livermore did not succeed because he was a genius trader. That is the comforting lie we all tell ourselves. He succeeded because he saw the financial market for what it is, a mechanism, a cold, unfeeling machine built for one purpose, to transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient. But he failed and died bankrupt because that exact same machine is engineered to exploit human biology. And in the end, he just couldn't fight his own DNA.
Well, hold on. You're starting with died bankrupt. I thought this was about the boy plunger, the greatest stock operator who ever lived, the guy who made, what, $100 million in one day during the 1929 crash?
He was all of those things. But that's the tragedy, and that's the real story here. We're diving into Edwin Lefèvre's Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. People treat it like a Bible for trading, They keep it on their desks. But if you actually read it, I mean, really read it, it's a warning label. It's the instruction manual for what we're calling the behavioral extraction machine.
Sounds a little ominous?
It's lethal. Welcome to this deep dive from Nonfiction Insights. Today, we're not just talking about stocks. We're talking about why your brain is fundamentally hardwired to lose money, and how one man cracked that code only to have the code eventually break him.
Okay, let's unpack this machine. Because, when you hear about Livermore, you hear about the yachts, the mansions. Are you saying the market isn't just a place to buy and sell parts of a company?
No. To get Livermore, you have to go back to the very beginning, the 1890s, the bucket shops. And you have to understand, these places weren't brokerages. They were betting parlors.
I've heard that term, but what's the real difference? It's like a primitive version of a trading app, right?
Not quite. In a real brokerage, you buy a stock, you own a piece of that company. In a bucket shop, you own nothing. You were literally betting on the number that came out of the ticker machine. But here is the critical constraint, the thing that rewired his entire brain, the 10% margin.
Meaning you had leverage.
Meaning you had a gun to your head, you put down 10%. If the stock dropped 10%, you were wiped out instantly. There was no holding on for the long term. There was no value investing. You were right or you were gone immediately.
That sounds incredibly stressful. You can't just write out a small dip.
You don't have that luxury. And this environment, it forced this evolutionary adaptation. Livermore was just a kid, 14, 15 years old. He couldn't care about what a company did, or its CEO, or its earnings. He only had the tape, the ticker. And he realized that prices moved in patterns. He called it bucket shop physics.
So he was looking for what exactly? Like early algorithms?
He's looking for fear and greed. He saw that before a stock would break a certain level, it behaved a certain way, not because of economics, but because of the people trading it. He saw the ticker tape as a raw data stream of human emotion. And he got so good at it, turning a few dollars into thousands as a teenager, that the bucket shops actually banned him.
They banned him for winning too much.
He was beating the house. He had to start wearing disguises, using fake names. He'd walk in, place a trade, and the clerks would realize who he was and just kick him out. And that's where he learned his first big lesson. The market isn't random. It's a catalog of human psychology.
Okay, so he beats the bucket shops. He's the boy plunger. He takes all this cash to New York, to Wall Street prop, and he should crush it there too, right? The principles should be the same?
You'd think so. But he gets to New York and he goes broke almost immediately.
Why? I mean, if he knew the patterns, how did he fail?
The data feed was different. In the bucket shop, the ticker was instant. In New York, with real brokers, there was a delay. But more importantly, he was trying to play by bucket shop rules in a major league game. He was trying to catch tiny little fluctuations when he should have been catching the entire tide.
He was watching the ripples and he was missing the wave.
Exactly. He was playing a game of speed when he needed to be playing a game of position. And this leads us to the first big engine of his new strategy. Let's call it Engine 1, the signal. Livermore had to learn that price is the only truth.
So it sounds a bit philosophical. Price is the truth. But what about the news? What about, facts? If a company finds a cure for cancer, the stock goes up because of the cure, not the price itself.
In Livermore's world, the news is a trap. Let me tell you about the Holotube and Union Pacific. This is where it all clicked for him.
Holotube.
A pseudonym for a stock in the book. So Livermore's watching this one stock. The market is rallying, everything's green. But Holotube drops 3 points. Just weakness.
And was there any bad news? A reason for it?
None. Zero. In fact, the company directors were out giving bullish interviews. But Livermore saw that price drop. He felt the heaviness in the tape, so he shorted it. He bet against it, heavily.
Just based on a small drop, that sounds reckless. You're betting against a bull market with no bad news at all.
A day or two later, the real news comes out. The directors passed the dividend, the stock completely collapsed, and Livermore made a fortune.
So he just got lucky.
No, this is the whole point. The analysis uses this perfect analogy. News is audio. Price is light.
Okay, I see. Light travels faster than sound.
Exactly. Think of a thunderstorm. You see the lightning flash. That's the price moving. That's the smart money, the insiders getting out. The thunder, that's the news, comes later. If you wait for the thunder to tell you there's a storm, you are already soaked.
That's a really powerful way to put it.
The tape is a telescope.
Yeah.
It sees the storm before the seismograph even registers a tremor. Someone knew that dividend was being passed. Their selling showed up in the price before the public knew why. Livermore's new rule became no diagnosis, no prognosis.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning if the price is acting sick, the stock is sick. Don't waste time asking why. By the time you find out the reason, the profit is already gone. If you wait for the why, you are just providing the exit for the people who sold on the what.
So the news is basically for suckers.
In the short term, pretty much. The news is a post-mortem. It explains what already happened. The price shows you the vital signs right now. But this brings us to the second engine. Because even if you can read the tape, you can still lose. You need this next piece. This is where we meet Old Turkey.
I love the names in this book. Who is Old Turkey?
Mr. Partridge. He was an old trader in the brokerage office. Never ran around, never got excited. And whenever some young hotshot would give him a tip to sell a stock and buy it back cheaper on a dip, Partridge would just smile and say, you know, it's a bull market.
That's it. It's the bull market.
That's it. The kids thought he was senile. They'd say, Mr. Partridge, look at the math. You can make more money. And Partridge would just say, my dear boy, if I sell now, I might lose my position. And then where would I be?
He was afraid of losing his spot.
Livermore realized that old man had figured out the secret. The hardest thing to do in the market is not being right. It's to sit tight.
Sit tight. It sounds so simple, almost lazy.
And it's the source of Livermore's most famous line. It never was my thinking that made the big money for me. It was always my sitting.
But why is that so hard? I mean, doing nothing should be the easiest thing in the world.
Because of dopamine. The market is designed to make you act. Every single tick of that ticker is a little poke saying, do something, buy, sell, react. It's biological warfare against your wallet.
It's the fear of missing out or the fear of losing what you already have.
Exactly. Livermore saw that the big swing, the major trend, is what makes you rich. Not all the day-to-day noise. He called it the line of least resistance.
Like in physics.
Just like physics. Prices move like water or electricity. They follow the easiest path. Once a trend is established, once that river is flowing, it takes a huge force to stop it. If you try to outsmart that big swing, you will lose. You can beat a stock, but you can't beat the market.
So Partridge's "it's a bull market" was just his way of saying the current is flowing this way, I'm not swimming against it.
Precisely. And this is where the behavioral extraction machine really comes into play. Because understanding the trend, that's intellectual. But sitting tight, that is purely biological. And this is where the story gets dark.
Right. The governor gear breaking.
So Livermore makes millions. He calls the 1907 crash. Then he calls the 1929 crash, shorting the market while bankers are jumping out of windows. He becomes one of the richest men in the world. And yet,
he died broke.
Bankrupt. 4 times. And in the end, he took his own life.
How? How does the man who wrote the rules on sitting tight lose everything? Was he just a gambler at heart?
That's the easy explanation, but I think it's wrong. He failed because the system requires a physiological state that is almost impossible for a human to maintain. Livermore called it the internal enemy.
The enemy within.
Hope and fear, the 2 cardinal sins of trading. But here's the twist, and this is maybe the most brilliant insight in the entire book. Livermore says a successful trader has to completely invert their biology.
Invert it? How?
Think about a normal person. When a stock they own starts losing money, what's their first feeling?
Hope. They hope it'll come back so they don't have to take the loss.
Right. And when a stock they own starts making a profit, what do they feel?
Fear. Fear that the profit will vanish, so they sell way too early.
Exactly. The amateur hopes when he should fear, and fears when he should hope. Livermore said you have to do the exact opposite. When you're losing, you must be terrified. Cut the loss immediately. No questions asked. When you're winning, you must be hopeful. You have to let it ride.
That sounds completely unnatural.
It is. It's an anti-survival instinct. In the wild, if you find food, you eat it now. You don't wait around hoping for more. If you sense danger, you freeze and hope it passes. The market punishes both of those instincts.
So Livermore knew all of this. He wrote it down. Why couldn't he follow his own rules?
Because knowing and doing are two different worlds. The governor gear is your discipline. After his huge wins, Livermore's ego would just swell. He'd start to think he was the market. He'd break his own rules, listen to tips. He'd overtrade.
So success bred arrogance.
Success made him human again. When he acted like a machine, he won. When he acted like a man with an ego, the machine ate him. He wasn't a gambler. He was a recovering addict of human emotion. And eventually, the stress of constantly fighting his own nature just broke him.
That is heavy. But okay, let's pivot to the practical side of this. You mentioned Engine 3, the probe. Is there a way to use his ideas without the, bankruptcy and tragedy?
Yes, absolutely. There's a transferable lesson here that is pure gold. It's called the probe, or sometimes pyramiding.
How does that work?
Okay, let's say you want to buy 1,000 shares of a stock. The amateur buys all 1,000 at once. Or even worse, they buy 500, the price drops, so they buy 500 more to average down.
Right, to lower their average cost. Standard advice, buy the dip.
Livermore says that is the single worst mistake. Never average down. He said it's like throwing good money after bad. Averaging down is buying a losing argument.
So what's the alternative?
You send a scout. You buy just 200 shares. That is your probe. Then you wait.
You wait for what?
For the market to prove you right. If the price goes up, you buy 200 more. You're buying strength. You water the flower.
And if the price goes down after that first buy?
You pull the weed immediately. You sell those 200 shares, take a tiny loss, and you walk away.
It goes back to that light versus sound idea. You're testing the theory.
You are. And he had a rule for it. The 10% rule, straight from the bucket shops. Never lose more than 10% of your capital on a single idea. That's your emergency brake.
So you buy a little. If it works, you add more. If it fails, you cut it loose instantly.
You buy probability, not hope. If you're averaging down, you are trading on pure hope. You're hoping the market is wrong, and you are right. Livermore's view was simple. The market is never wrong. You are.
That's a humbling way to look at it. It takes the ego completely out of the equation.
It has to.
So when we step back and look at his life, is this a cautionary tale or is it a masterclass?
It's both. You can't separate them. He proved the market isn't random. He proved you could pull immense wealth from it if you follow that line of least resistance. But he also proved that your internal enemy never, ever sleeps.
It's like he built the Formula One car, set the all-time lap record, and then crashed it into the wall on the victory lap.
And he crashed because he took his hands off the wheel to applaud himself.
Ouch. That's a brutal image.
But let's bring this to right now. Why does any of this matter to someone listening to this deep dive today?
Well, we don't have bucket shops anymore. We have regulated exchanges.
Don't we? Look at your phone. Look at Robinhood. Look at the crypto exchanges running 24/7. The friction is gone. In Livermore's time, you had to physically go to an office, put on a suit. There was a barrier to entry. Now, you can lose your life savings while you're waiting for your coffee. The behavioral extraction machine is faster, more efficient, and more gamified than it has ever been.
It's the bucket shop in your pocket.
Exactly. The apps are designed to trigger that dopamine, to make you trade, to make you overreact to the audio, the news alerts, the notifications, the confetti that pops up when you buy.
So the modern trader is fighting an even harder battle against their own biology.
And you can't opt out. That's the scariest part. If you just hold cash, inflation extracts your wealth slowly. If you trade without rules, volatility extracts it quickly. The machine is always running.
So what's the defense? How do you survive it?
The only defense is that old turkey mindset combined with the probe discipline. Identify the big swing, send out your probes, and then comes the hardest part of all. You have to sit tight.
You have to manage the internal enemy.
You have to become a stoic operator. You have to realize that when you feel that powerful urge to click buy or sell because of some headline, that is your biology actively trying to make you lose money.
It's not about the charts then, it's about self-control.
Trading is the hardest way to make easy money. And as Jesse Livermore proved, the moment you stop respecting the machine stops respecting you.
A sobering thought to end on.
But a necessary one. Read the book, but don't read it for stock tips. Read it for the mirror it holds up to your own mind. Thanks for listening to this deep dive on Nonfiction Insights.
See you next time.
Stay disciplined.